Hi guys, Billy back, and this time we're going to be looking at the Threezero Infinity Saga DLX Iron Man Mark 44, aka the Hulkbuster. This is a 1/12 scale figure, supposedly die cast. There has been a few other Hulkbusters in small scale before. I remember the Comic Cave one. I actually owned that one for a little while. I sold it recently. I believe SH Figure Arts and maybe even Figma did one. I'm not sure. There was a few of them, and they all sort of scale differently and stuff like that. But I believe this is supposed to be more like a true 1/12 scale figure. So we're going to take this out of the package and have a look at exactly what we get. Everyone gets really excited about Hot Toys shippers, but no one gives a crap about any of the others. I mean, this is a Threezero shipper, so I don't know. Does this like increase the value of my figure? I'm not entirely sure, but yeah. If this was a Hot Toy shipper, you know, people would be going mad for it, going, "Oh my god, I love it! Yeah, I want my Hot Toys to have the shipper." But for some strange reason, they don't really give that much of a crap about any of the other shippers from any other company. I guess that's the power of the brand, I guess. Okay, and here's the front of the box. You can see it's got the Avengers, Age of Ultron, all your lovely logos. This is the DLX range. Now, they did release, I believe, Transformers Bumblebee figures in the DLX range before, and they were pretty nice, especially Bumblebee. I think he was like one of my figures of the year when he came out, because it was just such a nice looking figure. And the Optimus Prime was great as well. The articulation is amazing. Threezero are really good at making robots. They know what they're doing, so I think they're pretty confident when it comes to like the Iron Man figures. And because this is a DLX, he's roughly in scale with 1/12 scale figures. Anyway, there's the Infinity Saga logo, because I don't know, Disney has insisted on selling it as the Infinity Saga now. As you can see, it's got a spot foil print. I just could not get that out. And then you've got yourself this picture of the figure on the front, and that is an actual real photo of it. On the side here, you've got Iron Man Mark 44, Hulkbuster DLX collection. And then on the back, we've got another promo photo that looks heavily photoshopped like mad. And you've got all your logos and your warnings and your made in Chinas and all that kind of stuff. It weighs quite a bit. It does feel quite heavy. It's definitely over, I'd say, a kg at least. It's got a magnet clasp front here that you can pop open. That's the figure inside just there. You've got some hands. Oh, you've got about 4 extra hands, I think. Should be really cool. And you just got a picture of the figure here, and then you just got some zoomed in pictures of all the features just around the figure there. Okay, let's open this up and have a look at exactly what it's like. Okay, and here he is just straight out of the box. Nothing much to it really. I've taken all the little bits of padding off of these bits just up here, and I'm just I'm trying to get used to how this actually all works, because there's a lot of articulation. Sort of in this shoulder area, there's like a butterfly joint that pops out, and you've got double bends in the arms here and stuff. So I'm just trying to get the grips with it. But my initial reaction is it's a very, very nice looking figure. I mean, it's quite a heft. You can feel it's very heavy, and it feels like a lot of the die cast is in the legs there. You can feel the coldness all the way through, but it's mostly in the legs. And I have to say, that paint job is really, really nice. It's exactly what you would expect from this price point. Very high quality paint. One of my criticisms, I will say straight off, is these bits here. They look a little bit not as silver as I would like, not as metal as I would like. They definitely look a little bit like plastic joints. Not a big deal, but it is something I just noticed when I immediately looked at the figure. However, I will say it's not as hefty and it's not as bulky in mass and size as the Comic Cave version, especially around this torso area and this chest area. On the Comic Cave one, he was a lot wider down here, and he was a lot more sort of barrel shaped, and he was a bit chunkier, which I think is actually how the Hulkbuster is supposed to look. Maybe something changed later on down the line and they shrank him down in the waist and stuff on screen, but initially he was supposed to look more like a powerlifter than a bodybuilder. And if we come around, we can just turn him around to the back. You can see all the details in the back here. Again, these joints, I would have liked more of a slightly more chrome metal look, because then it would look like real metal, as opposed to this. It does look a little bit plastic fantastic. Not the end of the world, but yeah, it's definitely something I've noticed on this guy that you don't get with something like, say, the Comic Cave one. But then the Comic Cave one is practically twice the price of this, so it's apples to oranges in a lot of ways, because to keep the costs down, they had to do a few simple things, but I have to say, I have a funny feeling this guy is going to be a lot more fun to have in the collection than the giant paperweight that was the Comic Cave one. Well, on the back here you can see he's got this panel, exactly like a lot of the designs on the Hulkbuster. That's the battery compartment there, and there's the button. There's no batteries from the looks of it. I don't think they included any, which is going to be fun. I'm not sure if I have the right batteries for this guy, so I'll have to have a look at the description and see which batteries this is supposed to come with. But I believe only the eyes and the back and the chest light up. I don't think these hands light up. I don't think the legs light up, and that's about it. Okay, looking at the accessories, he doesn't come with anything other than extra hands, and that's because instead of giving him articulated hands like say maybe the Hot Toys version and the Comic Cave version, they've decided to give him multiple different hands you can swap out. For example, you've got these open palm hands here. You can see there is no light up feature here, it's all just painted in, which is a shame. It would have been nice to have actually some clear sort of lenses on these hands here, but not such a big deal. Lovely painted. I mean, there's no bleed off or bad paint on this whatsoever. They are very, very nice. And I think this one has a slightly turned up sort of port here, so that he can actually get his hands up to point outwards to look like he's blasting. And then he comes with two slightly more relaxed hands again, no lenses in the palms, but you can see that they are very bulky compared to the rest of it. It's just, they're very big hands, which is really, really cool. I like that. And you can see all the details sculpted into the joints here. Okay, so I've opened it up and had a bit of a mess around and things like that to see what this thing can do, and I have to say it's quite impressive about just the amount of articulation you can get out of this thing. Threezero did an amazing job with the DLX Transformers, so I was in high hopes that they were able to do something special with the Hulkbuster, and they really have. There's some really nice articulation in this thing. It's all very manual. When you're opening up the cockpit and things like that, you have to use your hands. There's no special button that pops it all open. Again, I hate to compare it to the Comic Cave, but with the Comic Cave one, it actually came with a bust inside the figure, and you pressed the button on the back of it and the chest opened up, and the whole thing just looked really, really cool. But it's not the end of the world. Again, we're looking at a price point that is way, way lower than what the Comic Cave were charging for their Hulkbuster. However, you can see it's got a nice open cockpit here, and just inside you can see this is where the actual bust of the Mark 43 goes for the DLX. I don't own it, I'm afraid. I didn't buy that one. I just had so many small scale Iron Man floating about. I was doing the ZD Toy stuff, so I didn't really buy it. I might now that I know it can actually fit in here. I actually thought they might give you a bust, but they didn't, which is a bit of a shame, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway, you can see in here, this is where the bust of the Mark 43 goes. I believe there's a little port in here as well that helps with the stand. So what you can do is have like a stand popping out of here, and then you can have the Mark 43 just fully climbing out, which is a really clever little idea. They didn't have to do that, but they actually thought about that. So you can put the stem of the Mark 43 stand in here, have it out, and have it as like a waist grabber or something, grab it onto the Mark 43, and you can have him climbing out. Very, very cool. But you can see, I think this, I have to take this helmet off somehow, because the articulation is really, really good in it, but the battery compartment is up in here, and then you have to turn it on and off via a little switch, which is a bit of a bummer. I would have liked it not to have had to have done that, but I guess because there's so much articulation in here and having to get it out of the way of the cockpit, you couldn't have a wire running through here. Yeah, these chest panels here, these actually articulate. You lift these up and down. When you come down in here, these chest pieces move about, and these are moved so that you can bring them in towards each other to close up, so that you can actually make it look like there's all sort of mechanical bits inside the chest area, or move them out of the way to show off the bust inside. These panels come down and they move out of the way as well, and then you can have your bust in there. Very cool. And then the shoulder pads are on these really, really nice hinges here. You come in and out, and you can come up and down. This is on a hinge, and these are on a very nice big hinge. Then down in here you can see there is a butterfly joint that comes in and out, and that allows for these arms to get out of the way of the torso, and then you can just completely turn them all the way around on a 360 sort of turn. very nice. There is also a bicep swivel. We'll call it a bicep swivel, but it's more like an upper arm near shoulder swivel. The arms can go up really high, and there is a lot of articulation in them. So once you get the shoulder pad completely out of the way, these arms go up really, really high. Look, I can't even get them in shot. That's how high they're going up. Very nice. And again, you've seen that they have a double bend in the arms here, which is probably one of the nicest articulated. Maybe the SH Figure Arts was as articulated as this, but this is very nice. It's got a double bend and you can get more than 90 degrees, which is very, very good. Very nice and expressive. This will be a very fun figure to have in the collection. Then the hands are on ball joints, so they can move around quite generously. And then you've got hinges on the forearm gauntlets, very much like the Hot Toys version, where you can then bring these down and join them all up, or then you can pop them out. You can move them out, lift them up, move them back, like that. And then there's this little hinge on here as well. Nice bit of engineering to bring this panel down to give him that protective piece. Looks like he's doing a sort of like an archer bodybuilding pose, doesn't it? It's pretty cool. Didn't even mean to do that. And then of course the torso is on a hinge here. He has 2 points of articulation in the torso. He's got one down the bottom here and he's got one up the top. So he can really lean forward and hunch forward if need be. And then he can lean back quite nicely as well. But you can see this first one is a little bit stiff and a bit more awkward, whereas the top one is a little bit easier to articulate. But look at the engineering in there. The hips have these panels that pop out and get out of the way, so when you start working with the articulation, you know, they're not going to get scratched or damage the legs or anything like that, which is really good. And then you can see when you bring this guy down and start posing him around and start bending the knees, you can see that these pieces here actually move as well. So you can see the engineering that went into this. These panels actually drop down and get out of the way of this ball joint here, so that you can actually get some more articulation and get these well and truly out of the way, so you're not damaging the figure. And then the legs go out quite far because they are really well designed, and you can get him doing a karate kick. That's nuts. He is heavy though, so don't keep him in that pose, whatever you do. Put this in with the thigh articulation, and there is a sort of drop down hinge here, just going up, and you can just wiggle it loose and it comes down just there. So yeah, he does actually have hip articulation there. Whoops. Of course, you just saw there that I actually managed to pop the hip panel off, but it looks like it's on a ball joint, so as long as this isn't broken, I think I can fit this back on. Yeah, so it'll be okay to put back on. It looks like these will be a thing that will pop off. There is a thigh swivel in there. It's not a lot, but there is enough. And again, I've already shown you the double bend and the knee with the engineering that goes in with these pieces moving out of the way. But there is a very reasonable amount of ankle pivot in this guy. Enough for you to get some super awesome poses out of him and make him look really cool. But yeah, you can move these panels out and then get the foot back to rock forward and back a little bit more if need be. Okay, so just to demonstrate how you can actually get this guy open, if you lift these flaps up here, like this and like this, you can then take these chest pieces out and move them downwards. Pop them out. They're in like a little porthole here, and just pop these out like that, and then bring them down. Pop this porthole out here, bring it down. You can see you've got the two panel pieces here. Pop these two panels out and gently move them out of the way, and then you've got this piece, headpiece here. You can completely lift it up, and there you have the cockpit exposed, so you can actually put the Mark 43 bust in there. Okay, I knew my bone of contention would come somewhere, and it's definitely here. Do you see where the arc reactor is? Yeah, those two screws need undoing, and you need to put batteries in there, because that's how you turn this figure on at the front. That's how the light works for the lens there. There's a battery compartment on the back. It's all attached to this upper torso piece here. So why the batteries couldn't just light this one up as well, I have no idea. But the fact that you have to try and find and pull this panel off, which is very well nicely designed, put on there, but it's very hard to get in there and actually take this item out and then put new batteries in. And it didn't even come with batteries, so you've got to hunt down AG1s, they call them. I just picked up these ones, nice and cheap, and on the back they have AGI or AG1 364s in there, which is the ones I used and they seem to fit, so those are the ones that are going to stay in there. But yeah, it's a pain in the butt, if I'm honest. Okay, very much like their Bumblebee, they've got this little plastic panel circuit board here, and when you take it out, you put the batteries inside here, and it's got a little press button. So when you press the lens in and out, it presses this little button and it lights up the LED in the middle. So it's going to be interesting to see if that actually works. Okay, so here's another pain in the butt, is you have to take the helmet off in here to be able to take off the batteries, and then you can I think press this forward and on and off, and it will actually flick the switch on and off, something like that. But it's very frustrating because it's on a ball joint here. As you can see, it's on a hinge here, and then you're supposed to put that ball joint up inside here and pop it back on, and it's not easy at all. The best way I found to do it was put my fingers up in here to protect the hinge down the bottom, then pop off the head from here, and you can see that port there is where the ball joint goes, and it's ridiculous. It's too risky because you've got this hinge just down here, and it moves and everything, so unfortunately you run the risk of breaking this by pulling this off. You'd hope the head gives in, but it really doesn't. I've pulled it several times. I ended up having to put my fingers in underneath to protect this hinge here and get it fixed so that I could actually pull it off. It's not great design, unfortunately. Yeah, so points off for that, I'm afraid, Threezero. Okay, so once you've finally got the helmet off and you've taken out the screws here and here, you can then sort of slide this whole piece up like that, and inside you've got the same sort of little mechanism that you had on the chest piece. You can take this out and then fit your batteries into it, and there's a little switch just here for it. Okay, and here he is all lit up. Now you can tell that they're not super bright, and that's because I've got all this lighting in here. I've got this ring light, I've got more lighting around the back here, but you can still see it's bright enough. It's not super bright, but it's bright enough, and you can see that you can push the lens in and out to turn it off and on, which is okay, but again, remember, it is going to be a pain in the butt to swap those batteries out, so at least they gave you something with that. And there you go. And with this helmet here, you're going to have to undo all this chest piece here in order to get up under, or actually maybe you can't, maybe you can just get in, and yeah, you can just about turn it off and on by getting the head lifted up a little bit and then put back down. But again, this is a separate battery compartment, this is a separate battery compartment, and this is a separate battery compartment, and you can see they are lighting up. However, because I am don't really have any batteries, I've had to swap out batteries from another figure, and it's taken forever, and they're not as bright as they should be, but they do light up. I have tested it, he does light up really well, but the batteries are fading very, very quickly on this, mostly because of the batteries I'm using, not because of this figure itself. But for some strange reason, they've still managed to find a way that even though they haven't given him light up parts in the hands and the legs, they've still managed to find the most amount of separate battery compartments that they can give you to light this guy up. Like, this shouldn't have to be separate from this. Like, there's enough space in here that you can put a wire through, and all you need to do is turn on one button and this chest arc reactor would light up with the rest of the lights on the back here. But for some strange reason they haven't done that, so yeah, they're going to lose points for that, I'm afraid. And yeah, getting the batteries in this helmet was almost gave me a heart attack, because I thought several times I was going to break the figure and I was going to snap the peg that head is on. But yeah, I won't be lighting this guy up very often, if ever, to be honest, because it's too much of a pain in the butt to swap those batteries out. So yeah, I'm not going to do it. But articulation wise, this guy's great. So, I would like to see how they'd handle like a DLX Hulk in this range, but I just know I'd be setting myself up for failure, because robots is where Threezero wins. Their engineering team and design team are just out of this world. So yeah, he does have some dots in here. I don't remember seeing that on the Hot Toys version. I'm not sure if that's like more movie accurate or less. I don't really care, if I'm honest, but yeah, It is interesting. I've never seen those before. I can't recall ever seeing them. A little bit of weathering would have done this guy a world of good. A couple of little like light weathering chips around here maybe. He's just very, very fun to pose. I'm really enjoying this guy, and if you still love the Hulkbuster, I'd say this is definitely one you want to stick in the collection. But just remember that there is no light up features in the legs or the hands, and the 3 light up features they've got in the torso and head area are a little bit of a pain to put in and, you know, get working and whatnot. But other than that, this is a fantastic release by Threezero. I still think that maybe their Bumblebee is one of the best in the DLX range they've done so far. They absolutely designed the crap out of that thing. The articulation is amazing. They gave him brilliant weathering. They even gave him a light up feature in his helmets with a little button at the top that you can press on and off very easily, so it's not very fiddly. All round, yeah, I still think the DLX Bumblebee is their #1 best figure that they've made in the DLX range so far. But that's not to take away from this guy. He still is a very, very nice figure, and I think everybody's going to be very, very happy when they unbox this guy and start playing around with him, because that articulation is fantastic. And once you get him in a pose you like, he's just going to blow you away on the shelf. Okay, let's try some scale stuff. Let's have a go. Let's give him a go with the ZD Toys Mark IV, I think. Yeah, ZD Toys Mark IV. That kind of works, doesn't it? That looks pretty good. I think the scale on that is not too bad at all. I think maybe he could have, maybe they could have fit a whole torso in there if they needed to, but I still think that's pretty nice. Let's try the Mark 50. Give the Mark 50 a go. The Mark 42, because the ZD Toys haven't done a Mark 43 yet. So let's have a look at the Mark 42 with this guy. Actually, I think that looks even better. Yeah, I really like that. That's really cool. I like that. Yeah, that looks really good. And just for giggles, here he is next to the Mark 43 Hot Toys. Obviously, they're not the same scale, but you can see kind of what sort of height that this Hulkbuster is compared to like a 1/6 scale figure. And here he is next to the Marvel Legends Mark 85 figure. I think they scale pretty nicely as well, if I'm honest. Probably better than the ZD Toys one, because he's a bit more like hulking as compared to like the Marvel Legends ones, but the ZD Toys ones are a little bit bigger in scale anyway. And here he is with a selection of Hulks. We've got the Marvel Legends Hulk, we've got, I believe that's the SH Figure Arts Hulk, or maybe the Figma Hulk. I think it's the SH Figure Arts Hulk, movie Hulk. So yeah, that's him there. I think he feels a little undersized. Like, I don't know. I think in the film his fists were a bit bigger, and you know, they didn't get completely dwarfed by this guy. He's a tad undersized, and maybe I've just got him crouched down a little too much. And then we've got the Mezco Gladiator Hulk there. So yeah, this is definitely the one I'd say would fit in better with this guy. These two look really nice, but I feel they're a tad underscaled for just the size of this guy compared to these two. It doesn't look like these could really fight him, whereas this guy's got slightly bigger hands, bigger chest, bigger body, and if he stands up a bit straighter, he'd fit in a bit nicer with him. And here he is next to the Comic Cave Mark 7, and I have to say, this is a tad underscaled in my opinion compared to this. If the DLX Hulkbuster is 1/12 scale, this guy's a lot smaller than that. Actually, so far I've liked him more with the ZD Toys scale figures. That's only because I don't have the actual true scale Mark 43 from the Threezero to compare him to. But also here he is next to the Marvel Legends Ironmonger. So you can see just how much the Hulkbuster dwarfs this massive Ironmonger figure. So yeah, overall this is a really great, highly articulated 1/12 scale, super engineered Hulkbuster from Threezero. Love the paint applications. I would have liked a little bit more weathering to give him a slightly more realistic sort of grounded look. He is a little clean for my liking, but it's not the end of the world. And again, my only gripes were getting those batteries into this thing. They were massive pain in the butt. worse than a Hot Toys Iron Man figure, and that's saying something. So yeah, this is a super fun figure to pose and play with. Its articulation is good enough to justify any flaws that the figure might have. So much so that if you're only going to get one 1/12 scale Hulkbuster in your collection, I'd prioritize looking for this Threezero one over the SH Figure Arts one, I think maybe the Mafex one, and the Comic K version. This has kind of got a mix of all of those figures all put together into one really fun purchase. So yeah, this is definitely, I personally feel, the one to go with if you're only going to get one. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you do me a favour now. If you get the fuck out of my cave, I've got more figures coming. I've got the Asmus Evil Dead Ash coming. That's been a controversial one. I'm looking forward to getting hold of him. I've also got the Hot Toys Iron Patriot on his way. Yep. But other than that, I now have to go out and hunt down a space for this guy to go into the collection. He may actually go in with my DLX Transformers figures, or maybe go on my Marvel Legends MCU shelf at the back, just to show off and, you know, make them all look really bad in comparison. Bye bye guys.